What's up, everyone? We got the Titans here. We're going to talk about the ratings changes for the base Madden roster and then talk about how they did and how they're looking forward to 2017. I have them 17th in the power rankings, which is a pretty good mark for them considering they were the worst team in football before last year. But they have a stud quarterback. Defense needs some fixes, but they found their identity in that offensive line, and they're really going to be able to build upon that. They have a ton of picks, so could really have another big step forward next year. Looking at the quarterback, Mariota at an 82 is going to make him one of the better quarterbacks in the game. I think that's 11th or 12th, which is about where I think he should fall. Just a really solid athlete and a great arm, honestly, and pretty accurate. He does still make some pretty stupid mistakes, honestly, but so efficient in the red zone, which is key, and really able to run this offense through the run game and play action. And I think he's going to continue to develop. He's a super smart guy. So I think Mariota could really emerge one of these years as kind of that next candle holder for the number one quarterback in football. He's definitely a good prospect for that down the road. And then onto the running backs. DeMarco Murray goes up. He had such a great season. And it wasn't really until this year that I've been a fan of DeMarco Murray. I think he has a great understanding of the game. He's very good as a receiving running back. And obviously good vision, but also pairs that elusiveness with a lot of power. So very solid, and he's definitely still got a few years left. I think he'll be 29 going into the season. And then Derrick Henry, just kind of waiting for his turn, but man, he's going to be an absolute beast. I think his size is going to limit him maybe a little bit. I mean, I don't think he'll ever be like an Adrian Peterson. He's not as agile and not quite as explosive, but he is pretty quick for 6'3", 245. So I am excited for him to eventually become the lead back because I think it's inevitable, and this offensive line is going to continue to grow. And then at receiver, Rashard Matthews had a pretty solid year. He's just a very well-rounded receiver. He blocks really well. He doesn't do anything exceptionally well, but he doesn't drop the ball or he doesn't slack in his routes. So he's just a very solid, I think, a career number 2 guy. And then the rest of these guys, they're going to have to improve at receiver. I think this is a potential landing spot for Alshon Jeffrey. Tajae Sharp is interesting, but he's really skinny. It kind of worries me. I don't think he's ever going to be too great until he can put on some size. And then I do like Harry Douglas, but he's older, and Kendall Wright should be on his way out. And then at tight end, Delaney Walker, great, but getting older, so they're probably going to have to upgrade that unless Jason Amaro could start to figure things out. But Amaro does go down. And then, the offensive line, Taylor Lewan, just a monster, turning into a young superstar left tackle, was a huge part of their success this season. The interior guys are okay. Chance Warmack still hasn't totally figured it out, but had a decent year. He does go up a little bit. And then Jack Conklin on the right side was fantastic. So, I mean, you get your tackles and your offensive line will click. And this is just a perfect example of that. They have 2 stud tackles, and it was a very effective unit. On the defensive side of the ball, they have some playmakers, which is good. But they're definitely going to have to invest some of those picks. I think they have 2 first-round picks this season. They're definitely going to have to invest on this D-line. I mean, Daquan Jones has kind of met his ceiling, it looks like. Jarrell Casey is still a stud, though. I did have to move him up, I think 4 or 5 overall, maybe even more than that. And then Al Woods is just kind of a replacement level nose tackle. Not a terrible player, though. And then the linebackers, Derek Morgan goes down. He's never really been able to figure it all out. I loved him in college, but personally, I think he needs to be playing with his hand down. I don't think he's agile enough to be a stand-up linebacker. I could see him moving on to a 4-3 team and really having a second burst to the end of his career. Linebackers, these guys are probably okay. I don't think they need to replace either of them. Woodyard's getting a little older, but definitely a solid player, always has been. And then Avery Williamson continuing to grow. His rating does go down a little bit, though. Arakpo, he goes up. He's really impressed me since he's come to Tennessee. Just kind of has always been a consistent pass rusher. Not as explosive as he used to be, but definitely good enough to be, hard to say your number one pass rusher, but a lot of teams would love to have Brian Arakpo as their best pass rusher. Let's just leave it at that. And then at corner, Jason McCourty is solid, but then the rest of these guys are pretty much replacement level. I could see them grabbing a good corner. And then the safeties, Rashad Johnson goes up a little bit. And then Cersei goes down. Both these safeties, I think, could be replaced or stay. I mean, depending on if they can improve the front seven. So that's it for the Titans. Pretty optimistic outlook. Maybe not necessarily for next year. I wouldn't be surprised if they figured it out next season, but definitely in the near future, this is going to be one of the better teams in football as long as they can continue on the path they're on. And I'm a huge believer in Marcus Mariota to get that done. So we got the Vikings, the last team in these reviews. Thanks for sticking with me, guys, and we'll see you for the next episode.